So Nintendo or Pokemon Company or both just made a pretty bad decision, um, and because of it, I'm not going to be buying the new Pokopia game, which is coming out in March for the Nintendo Switch 2. My reason is just because I don't want to support the end of physical media. It's probably going to happen eventually, but I don't want to be the reason why.
So some of you are probably wondering, okay, what are you talking about? All right, so Nintendo just put out a video on their channel, and it is called Using Game Key Cards on Nintendo Switch 2. And the reason why people are upset is because the example that they use in this video, showing you how to use a game key card, is none other than Pokopia. Now, Pokopia is an upcoming Pokemon game where the gameplay is kind of like a farm simulator, and it's like Animal Crossing in a way. It's not everybody's cup of tea, but I was looking forward to playing it because I'm a big Pokemon fan, clearly. My sister, who's a huge Animal Crossing fan, is looking forward to the game as well. And I'm sad to say that them showing that it's going to be on a physical game key card just upsets me a lot, and here's why. I've been a Nintendo fan basically my entire life. My first console was the Nintendo 64, and I love buying Nintendo games and owning the physical cartridge, case, disc, whatever you may call it, and I love having it on my shelf. You can call me a game collector, right? I know not everybody's like that, but I am. It's one of the little joys that I have in life, is looking at my game collection, okay? And so when Nintendo Switch 2 came out and they announced that they were doing these game keycard things, I, like a lot of people, was kind of upset because I'm thinking, well, I don't want to own a physical cartridge that doesn't actually have the game on the cartridge. If that's the case, I might as well buy it digital, or just buy it on a different console. But it was seeming like Nintendo was only going to do this with the third-party games and not the actual first-party Nintendo-published games, which I was bummed about, but it did bring me a little bit of comfort to know that, well, at least my Zelda, Pokemon, Mario games, etc., they're all going to be physical cartridges, so I don't really have to worry. Or so I thought. Now, some games, like Cyberpunk, for example, are fully on the cart, which is great. I think it's great that some third-party developers were like, you know what? We're going to do it for the gamers. We're going to fit this entire game on this cartridge just because we can. They had the physical collectors in mind when they made these decisions, and I really appreciate it. Yooka-Laylee is another one. Yes, the game costs a little more for the physical copy than the digital version. That's right, you heard me. I'm willing to pay a little bit more for a full game on a cartridge than the digital version, just so I can say that I own the game. And there's a lot of gamers that don't care. They just want to play the game. They don't care if it's digital or physical, whatever. And so that phrase, you will own nothing and be happy, always comes back to my mind. Sure, I can own nothing and be happy, that's true. But I could also own nothing and be happy and not buy this game. And actually, be happy with the physical games that I do own. I don't want to buy this game because I don't want to support Nintendo doing this with their first-party titles. Third-party games is one thing because it's going to help them cut costs and not have to pay for the expensive cartridges. Sure, but Nintendo shouldn't be doing this with their first-party IPs. Now I know what a lot of people are going to say, that technically Pokemon's not a first-party IP since Nintendo doesn't own the entire thing, and it could be that this was a decision on Pokemon Company's end. Okay, if that's the case, I won't buy it because of the Pokemon Company and not Nintendo. It doesn't really matter who's responsible for this decision, I just don't like it. I'm not normally one to make videos complaining about stuff like this, but in this case, the only hope is that if enough people voice their opinion, Nintendo will change this and hopefully release a physical copy of Pokopia. Because until then, I will not buy it. Now, I know my sister's gonna buy it because, well, she buys most of her games digitally anyway, and that's the thing. I'll probably watch her play it, and with the Nintendo Switch's new feature, maybe she'll even let me borrow it because I think that's a thing. But I will not be buying it, so instead of getting 2 sales of a game, they're only gonna get 1, until they release it physical. Now, I did leave a comment on this video, and it got some likes and a response. And I basically just said, I won't be buying Pokopia, shame. I wanted to play this, but I won't support the end of physical games. I got 2 replies. Someone said, seriously, you're not gonna buy it just for this small reason? And then someone said, yes, storage is very limited on Switch 2. You have to be very selective of the games you buy now. Which is true. I also want to talk about one of the biggest things that people bring up in response to, the whole game keycard debate. And I want to just say something. Game keycards suck because there is no benefit to them. There really isn't. Now, if you think about it, now some people will say, well, of course there's a benefit, because if I buy a game keycard and I'm done with it, well, then I can just sell it to either my friend or to, a game store or whatever. I can get some of my money back after I'm done with the game. With just a digital version, I can't do that. And yes, that's true, but here's the biggest thing. You can do that with physical game cards too, right? So why don't you so if the options were to buy it digitally or buy a physical cart, just buy the physical cart, and when you're done with it, sell it. Like people have been doing for the last 40 years. So that argument doesn't really stand, because yeah, you can sell the game key card, but you can also sell a physical cart. I hate this because this is like Nintendo just saying, like, look, we're going to do this and we're going to get away with it, and you're going to get used to buying this. And it's not just Nintendo to blame for this, it's the entire industry as a whole. People who enjoy collecting movies and Blu-rays are having the same issue. Why make physical media for consumers when they could just stream it or buy a digital version, and you can charge them the same amount of money? Sure, I mean, it makes sense from a business standpoint, but here's the thing. When the eShop goes down, and we know it will one day, you no longer have access to that game. The same thing happened with the 3DS, the PlayStation 3, and numerous other online systems. All of those digital games that you purchased, you can no longer buy or download. And look, I know, times change, and eventually, everything will be digital. But while I'm here on this planet, I want my games physical, alright? And if eventually all Nintendo games are digital and they stop making physical games completely, well, then I won't be the one who supported it. Now, I could understand the argument that game key cards might be better if, for example, you put the card in the system, it downloaded the game to the system, and then, let's say you left your cartridge at home. Well, let's say you were off and about. If you could still play the game, then sure, that would be a benefit, because it's like, look, I can sell the cartridge, and also I don't actually need the cartridge in the system. And maybe Nintendo can, work around this by saying, okay, you need to put the cartridge in the system every 2 weeks or so. As long as we've registered the cartridge in the system, you have full access to playing it digitally for the next 2 weeks. And then you need to put it in again. That way we know that you still own the game. Sure, if they could do something like that, then yeah, that would actually be a benefit. But no, that isn't the case. You need the game in the system at all times to play it, just like a normal physical game. So tell me, what is the benefit to game key cards? There really is none, other than the fact that you can sell it, which, like I said, you can already do that with a normal physical cartridge. The reason why I'm getting so worked up about this is because Pokemon is my favorite franchise, and the fact that they're doing this just rubs me the wrong way. But what do you guys think? If you disagree with me, please leave a comment, and, we'll talk about it in the comment section. Alright, my rant's over. Thanks for listening. Have a great day.